We're driving a 2022 Acura RDX. Coming up, I'm going to share a feature of the RDX that makes a Chevy Corvette seem positively slow. But first, information explosion. The Acura RDX was updated slightly for 2022. Let's dive right into it with interior.
I love this particular material right here. I feel like it's going to degrade over time with my arm goo, but that's just speculation. But it's so soft and fun to touch.
To clarify, Evie doesn't have an arm goo condition. She's just referring to being a normal human being, not particularly gooey arms. Now, this is going to sound a little bit silly, but when I sit in here, it reminds me of the Acura NSX. But we've actually spent a fair bit of time in the NSX, and so when I see this center console and the steering wheel shape and like this little instrument hood here, it feels very NSX to me, and because that's sort of a positive anchor point, I feel some positive sentiment toward the almost said NSX, toward the RDX.
This huge dynamic mode knob in particular reminds me of the NSX, and it has a similar problem in that I always want to turn up the volume with it, but instead that's this teeny tiny little volume knob. I also really like the functionality of having this space beneath the center console.
One ergonomic thing that I think is really, really cool is the steering wheel. I have a suspicion that somebody within Acura's ranks is absolutely obsessive about steering wheel ergonomics. The thumb position is great. There's enough tactile action on the thumb here with the stitching, but it's not abrasive. And then the way the steering wheel curves around the back, it is explicitly made to be gripped, like your fingers just naturally curl around it. The ergonomics of the steering wheel are unimpeachable. Overall, the vibe in here is much more sporty than it is luxurious, I would say. We're also, on the sporty note, driving the A-Spec Advanced Package, which is the fanciest one you can find, which explains the orchid leather we have here. You can't get that in lesser RDXs, but I think it's a fashionable seat, and I will note, ergonomically, it fits me perfectly. How about you? Okay, not quite as good as NSX seats, but pretty darn good.
Yeah, I really like the way they hold you in place, but it's not too intrusive, and the way they look is super stylish.
In terms of space, when I sit in the back seat, knee room is abundant. I really like that there's a flat floor back there, so if you have a middle passenger, they've got somewhere comfy to put their feet. I'm average height, 5'10", and I do just barely, if I'm sitting with good posture, barely brush up against the headliner, just a little bit, but with my standard slouch, I clear no problem. I do wish the rear seats reclined, which they don't, and I do wish they had more of a static recline. It's just a touch too vertical for me. Not uncomfortably so, but if it was my ideal position, I would have gone with a little bit more angle. But overall, I think it's a good amount of space for a compact SUV. Child, how was it getting in and out of this car?
Really easy, and it was easy to close the door.
See those muscles? Ooh, look at those muscles.
Remember, I can punch really well.
I don't believe you. You better demonstrate. Ooh, that's a pretty good punch.
Heard that one.
Oh, and for car seat stuff, I think we have the ultimate latch flap.
It certainly is substantial.
You say that with such a suggestive pause.
I was trying very hard to think of a word that was not suggestive.
Good to see you, Iguana. Any issues getting the child seat installed?
No, it worked great.
In terms of cargo space, 29.5 cubic feet, which is respectable for the category, but there's some stuff back there that I think really makes the cargo space super useful.
The underfloor area has two main separate compartments that you reveal as you pull up the back cover.
Yeah, and I like that there's a little supplemental bin on the left side. I also like that there's the easy release from the cargo area for flipping down the second row seats. There's little like tie down points. It's just a really useful space. As for safety, front impact is 4 stars, but overall is 5 stars, so generally pretty safe. 8 airbags standard, including driver and front passenger knee airbags. And then the Acura Watch suite of active driver assists comes standard. And that's all the stuff like lane keeping assist, automatic emergency braking. It has a low speed collision prevention function, and also blind spot monitoring, all standard. Oh, and new for 2022, there's street sign recognition abilities like drive 35 here, and also a seatbelt readout that shows you who is seatbelted and who is not. What do we think? Is the Acura RDX family friendly?
Family friendly.
Yeah, family friendly. Rear window test. Oh, almost all the way down.
Almost all the way down.
Armrest test. I'm driving in a comfortable 8 and 4 position, and it's a little bit of a reach here on the inboard, and you've got stitching in this spot, so that does make it a little bit abrasive. Outboard is a much easier to access perch, and I clear the stitching with my elbow. I'm gonna go 85% on the outboard and 60% on the inboard. Hey, have you subscribed to our channel? If you haven't, please do. At 100,000 subs, we're gonna review a windowless white van. Style! Are you intrigued by Flying Eyes eyewear but unsure which style fits you best?
There is a solution, the Flying Eyes Try-On Kit. Here's how it works.
Flying Eyes will send 4 frames right to your door. Are you an Osprey, Kestrel, or Kingfisher kind of girl? This is how you find out.
The kit costs $30, and if you wind up buying a pair of Flying Eyes, that $30 is credited toward your purchase. When the kit arrives, you've got 1 week to try on the eyewear before sending it back using the included return shipping label.
After 1 week, Flying Eyes will send goons to your house to retrieve those glasses. Was that no goons? Regardless, please send the kit back promptly.
And if you need prescription lenses like I do, be sure to select the prescription try-on kit. It includes 4 Flying Eyes frames plus prescription marking instructions and demo lenses for marking your pupil.
With that sweet pupil info, Flying Eyes can custom craft prescription lenses. If you're ready to invest in aviation grade eyewear but you want to be absolutely certain that you get the right frames, the Flying Eyes Try-On Kit can help you buy with confidence.
Use the promo code Micah for 10% off your purchase. Flying Eyes.
The RDX has been updated for 2022, so a slight redesign to the front fascia, just some minor details in and out as far as style is concerned. We are driving the A-Spec package, which has a kind of a sportier appearance versus the standard RDX.
I also really like the design of the front fascia. There's lots of gentle curves and lines that break it up. There's a big angle on the hood, like the little scoops.
The pentagonal grille with kind of a fractal design and the jewel-eyed headlights. By the way, the color of blue is Apex Blue Pearl, $500. If you're curious what we're doing between YouTube videos, you can give us a follow over on Instagram, In Motion. During my commute home in this Acura RDX, I found ride quality to be generally quite comfortable. And another thing that really jumped out to me is that it's pretty quiet in here. They did extra work on noise, specifically starting in 2022, to reduce more acoustic glass, more sound deadening. So they wanted to make the RDX quieter, and I think they succeeded. Coming up the mountain, very windy roads, this thing is very capable in the corners. I found it a little bit difficult to judge exactly how fast I could go, so perhaps a little bit more communicative when really pushing it might be nice. But in the beginning of the video, I teased we were going to talk about a feature of the RDX that makes the Chevy Corvette feel absolutely slow, and that feature is the steering. The steering ratio in an Acura RDX is 12:1. Compare that to the Chevy steering ratio, much, much slower. The way the RDX steering works, it's fairly slow on center, so it feels very stable, but the further you turn off center, the quicker the steering gets. So you don't have that many turns lock to lock. In fact, this is lock to lock. Lock left, lock right. Like it doesn't turn that much, whereas with the Corvette, you probably want a slower steering ratio because you might be going 200 miles an hour. But the general point is that the RDX is a fairly quick steering vehicle, and that adds to a sense of agility that I appreciate. Another behavior I noticed on my drive home is a little bit of clunkiness from the transmission in a very slow speed creep situation on the freeway. Every once in a while I hear like a little bit of like a kind of a little bit of oddness. More positively, I do like that as I ease into the accelerator, there's not much delay before you start to get that pull, which sometimes you can have that delay with a turbocharged engine, and if you floor it, it's fast. I'm going to brake now. You also have transmission selectors here on the steering wheel. That was a reasonably quick response. Oh, and then the other thing I gotta add too is that for 2022, Acura has updated their drive mode so there's greater differentiation between them. In the highest spec here, this has adaptive dampers. So when you put it in comfort mode, the suspension gets softer with its reactions. So when we go from comfort mode to sport mode, that should feel much firmer. And yeah, the general character, the whole demeanor feels, actually that does feel much sportier. Just for funsies, let's take a hard right. Whee!
Even as a passenger, I can tell.
Well, I might have been because I was driving silly, but yeah, so greater distinction, that's fun to play around with. Oh man, backing up is so sporty. Whoa, yeah, woo! Sport mode. Oh, and as I accelerate from a stop here, I'm going to mention super handling all-wheel drive. So it's a really cool system that can actively divide torque between the rear wheels. So if you're turning to the left and you accelerate, it can put power to the outside right tire to help turn you around the corner. I really like this system, but I think during winter months, like up here in the mountains, that's the kind of thing that could be a really useful trait, that precise application of torque, enhancing agility. And who knows, yeah, you could take this thing off-road if you wanted to be dainty, though I don't think they really want you to take it off-road. Okay, I've talked long enough. Let's let Evie drive. So that was a very weak clap, but we're here anyways. Evie's driving. Evie, what do you think about visibility in the RDX?
It seems fine over my right shoulder. Over my left shoulder, there's a thick B-pillar here impeding my vision, but that's pretty common.
We live in a little mountain town, endless curves. How does it feel? You're turning. What's happening?
I like this car around corners. It feels zippy to steer. I don't feel like I have to put in quite as much effort. I like it.
And I know you're a big fan of smaller cars. Do you feel comfortable driving this?
I do. It feels lower to the ground to me. It doesn't feel like too much to manage.
So it's manageable and you're enjoying the acceleration. I see your hair
zippy.
Gracefully fleeing back as we accelerate. I guess maybe a big question, are you having fun driving it?
I do like accelerating in this car. The sound of it feels very responsive in that 0 to 35 range that I drive in up here.
We call that the sweetie spot. That's your ideal acceleration range. So overall, generally positive emotions?
Yes.
Awesome, I'm getting back in the driver's seat. So overall, I think the Acura RDX has a pleasing driving demeanor, a little bit sporty, a little bit refined. It's a nice driving car. I'm going to very quickly thank the people on Patreon who support us. We love chatting with you guys there, and you guys get early access to our videos. So thank you, patrons, for your support.
You're awesome.
Moving onward to emotion factor.
There's a huge emotion factor here. I think having the drive modes be front and center like this gives you an indication that this is geared towards enjoyable driving. The exterior styling is super emotive, very stylish. Yeah, I think there's definitely an emotion factor here.
Such a good point about the drive mode selector being a centerpiece. It's like, hey, make a choice. Like,
yeah.
Okay, I will make a choice. I'm gonna floor it right now and go through this corner and use super handling all-wheel drive to maintain the perfect course. Fun. What do you guys think? Is there an emotion factor here? If you're feeling emotionally drawn to buy an Acura RDX of your very own, click the Kelley Blue Book listing link in the description below for real vehicles in your area. Remarks! Infotainment. Oh, there's stuff to talk about here. I'm going to lay some groundwork. So this has a true touch interface, this little pad down here, and the philosophy is that the lower left on this pad is the lower left on that screen. And then there's a little screen over, it's kind of a, actually it sounds like the button on a Casio keyboard you push to make a kind of a shaker sound. Listen. Anyway, what's interesting about this is that whole true touch philosophy goes right out the window when you are in Apple CarPlay. It functions just like a normal touch interface.
It's so small that I had trouble being precise enough with my movements, and I kept selecting things I did not intend to. Keep in mind that I really prefer a touch screen.
And I think a lot of your touchscreen interface preference, and mine as well, is dictated by our use of Apple CarPlay.
True.
We're so used to knowing where the icons are. When you have to go to a touch interface that uses a pad like this, it can be a little bit initially befuddling. I think this is the kind of interface that with more exposure, owners will get used to it. By the way, the screen that you control with this little pad is 10.2 inches high, just outside of your normal view forward, so it's very easy to see when you're driving. I also like the fact that they've included plenty of USB-C ports, because that is the future, and also Apple CarPlay and Android Auto come standard, and it's wireless. So there! You know how earlier I was saying somebody on Acura's payroll has to be super obsessive about steering wheel ergonomics? I think that same person's probably also super obsessive about headrest adjustability, because you got this little button on the side here, and you can like move it forward and back, and it goes up, and it's just a very adjustable headrest.
I am a fan of that. I'm short, so everything's the wrong size for me.
Well, not in this Acura RDX, it's not. Some guy at the office named Gil is like so proud of the headrest.
It's good headrest, Gil. Good job.
Earlier I mentioned super handling all-wheel drive, and I failed to mention that it costs $2,200 in the lower trims, but if you have the advanced package, it comes standard. A couple other mechanical notes: tow maxes out at 1,500 pounds regardless of whatever trim you get, and that's not that much. So if you have towing aspirations, keep that in mind. And also, you have to run 91 octane. Sweetie, can I give you a trim recommendation?
Well, sure.
By the way, the trim recommendation is based on which trim gets you the features you would regret not getting, but at the lowest possible price. I'm going to suggest getting the base RDX. It has, I think, all the stuff you'd need. It's got this panoramic roof standard, heated 12-way front seats, dual zone climate control, a power liftgate, blind spot warning, and smart key access. The only thing it doesn't really have that you might want would be embedded navigation, but we're so addicted to Apple CarPlay that that's not a problem for us. So if you want a navigation system, you'll need to move to any other higher trim. So this is a very strong value proposition with the RDX. I also think adding to that value a 6-year, 70,000-mile powertrain warranty. Of course, if you like to live like us fancy Muzios and people's borrowed cars, you can move up to something like this, the A-Spec Advanced Package. And this thing is loaded with an ELS 16-speaker audio system, ventilated front 16-way seats, heated rear seats, a 360-degree camera system, adaptive dampers, and a hands-free liftgate. Evie, do you have thoughts about the hands-free liftgate?
I tend to have issues with technology. I feel like it's fighting me, but that felt really literal with this while I was shooting the car. Many times while I was getting footage of the cargo area, I kept getting it to close on me with my foot, not on purpose.
Ironically, you struggled to get it open with your foot. I had the exact same thing where I think when you're putting stuff in the back, it's very easy to accidentally activate it and have it crush you.
It will not literally crush you. It'll gently close and then open when it realizes you're there.
Yeah, it's really more of a posh... Oh good, that GoPro overheated. I'll quickly end this segment by pointing out that the Acura RDX competes with, let's see, the BMW X3, Audi Q5, Volvo XC60, oh, and Genesis GV70. But the RDX undercuts all of those, so it's a real value proposition, but there are other competitors to consider. We're gonna let that GoPro cool down and come back with Synopsis! Oh good, the GoPro has started up again. In thinking about the essence of the Acura RDX, it lacks some of the cachet of more established luxury brands, but it delivers an elevated experience at a modest price. To me, it is the Kirkland brand vodka of premium compact SUVs. Is it like Grey Goose? I don't know. Who cares? Drink and enjoy responsibly. If you can think of a better synopsis, tell us in the comments section. If you'd like to see what we're doing between YouTube videos, you can give us a follow over on Instagram, or maybe you can follow me over on TikTok. Yeah, I decided to do that. If you'd like to see more new car reviews like this, or the occasional Bronco update with our ownership experience, or maybe even sometimes some helicopter stuff, feel free to subscribe. Family! I think we've done a pretty good job reviewing the Acura RDX. May I have a 5 and a 5?
Pew.
You! Come get your high five. Ah!